Scud the Disposable Assassin is probably one of my favorite comics ever. I don't know, maybe something like 20th Century Boys or Get a Robo rivals it, but it's at least my favorite Western comic. I almost never see people talk about this, and when they do, it's like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that 90s comic, or oh yeah, I had that game as a kid. It doesn't help that it's had exactly zero cultural relevance past 2009. No movies, shows, games, spin-off comics, hell, even merchandise. Partly because when it was coming out, it was still pretty niche, and also the rights were split up between multiple parties. Scud is the kind of thing that's hard to properly explain just why I like it. Best I could do is point at it and go, isn't it great? Isn't that just the coolest thing you've ever seen? I'll try to properly articulate myself, but no guarantees. Many people worked on the comic, but the two that I think are most important, that give Scud its identity, are Rob Schrab and Dan Harmon. Schrab created the comic, but Dan Harmon really helped flesh out the madcap sense of humor that the comic has. You might know these two as they would eventually go on to write for and co-create Rick and Morty, respectively. You might think that means that I like Rick and Morty. Anyways, the setup for Scud is easy. It's all in the first issue. In this world, you can hire a robotic assassin out of a vending machine. You give them info on their target, they kill said target, and then they self-destruct. Scud is a Scud, a brand of disposable assassin. He's hired to kill a monster terrorizing a mannequin factory, but before he can kill it, he notices a sign on his back saying that he'll self-destruct upon termination of the target. So, he blows the creature's arms and legs off and puts it on life support. He then has to take jobs in order to pay the hospital bills to keep himself alive. Easy start. Nice. Clean. Fun. For what it's worth, the series uses this premise more as a springboard, launching off into many, many different ideas and crazy adventures. Man, this comic has such a great flow. Once you start reading, it's really hard to put down, at least until you finish the main story, and then all those little side adventure chapters start happening with the horse. Read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But generally, as for the story, it has its ups and downs. It's not perfect by a long shot, and some parts haven't aged the best, but it has a lot going on that I really, really like. One great point about the story is just how seamless it feels. In a comic that wears as many hats as this one does, it's important to maintain certain consistencies, especially in tone. It's an action story, a western, a space story, and even a love story. Yeah, Scud falls in love with a woman named Susudio, and they kind of date for a bit. It's sort of sweet, and I'll get back to it later. Point is, you never really feel like you're being jerked around. Every scenario kind of flows into the next perfect. The art in this thing is just fantastic. It's all done by Schrab. His style is so distinctive, and seeing it evolve more and more is so much fun. This stuff is crazy. I seriously dig it. I want more comics that are this zany and out there, taking typical character design and panel layout ideas and just chucking them right out the window to do something truly original. The art is dynamic and fun, not too detailed, but not too abstract. It helps that as the run went on, the style evolved to be a bit looser, and it reads perfectly for action. I mean, just get a load of this art. They don't make them like this anywhere. The characters are all gonzo as hell too. Robots, humans, aliens, dinosaurs, zombies, Benjamin Franklin, giraffes, zipper guys, monstrosities, angels, ghosts, dragons, weirder robots, werewolves, the British, cyborg mafia guys, whatever the hell this is, guy with the dog head. No, like his head is an entire dog. His name is Pavlov. He dies. Scud is such a fun character. I love reading about this guy. I've always kind of considered him to be like a reverse Deadpool. I've used that in the past to explain the appeal of the comic to people. The world of Scud is out there, and it's way out there. It's wacky and weird and satirical, but Scud as a character is grounded as can be. He's so grounded, he kind of borders on like a trope-aware, fourth-wall-breaking wisecracker. If he was in any way egotistical or smug at all, it would be entirely insufferable. But as it stands, he's almost like a fixed point of the universe. Like, no matter how crazy or out there things get, Scud is here to take things as they come and roll with the punches. Until he doesn't. If you care about spoilers, now's probably the time to bow out. For what it's worth, I think if you know anything about the comic, you probably know the ending. And I don't think it really ruins the rest of the comic to know it, but be warned. If it sounds good to you, go read it. It's all available in one trade paperback called The Whole Shebang. The cover looks like this. It used to look like this, But it doesn't anymore, and we just have to live with that. At the end of issue 20 of Scud, it's revealed that the giant monster he's been... Jeff. Have I really not talked about Jeff yet? Jeff is a giant monster with a sweater for a torso, mousetraps for hands, arms for legs, mouths on her knees, a giant squid belted to her chest, and a giant, electrical plug for a head. She's great. She hates Scud. In the last issue, it's revealed that Jeff was the final horseman of the apocalypse. The angels of heaven had overthrown God and were using Jeff to usher in the destruction of the earth so they could restart it all. They end up killing Susudio right in front of Scud and forcing him to destroy the earth for them. It's really an emotional scene. Not to make too direct of a comparison here, but it's something of a fire walk with me moment. You're having all these fun adventures with magic robots and stuff, but then here comes this final issue to slam you back down to the ground. Scud has never been this unstoppable action hero, but in the moment, he kind of shows his heart. He cared about Susudio so much that he was willing to destroy the world for her. And that was the end of the comic for about 10 years. Scud as a series was made out of heartbreak. Rob Schrab was going through a breakup when he first started writing Scud, and through the course of the comic, he got back into another relationship. He worked himself to the bone making Scud, and then that relationship just ended. By the time that happened, he was just done. Schrab always seemed to have his aspirations elsewhere than comics. He said he's always loved, movies and TV and stuff, and wouldn't you know it, during the whole ending time, he was trying to get a Scud movie off the ground. Plans fell through, in no small part due to execs completely missing the point of what makes Scud good. And he made a bunch of kick-ass pilots and short films that no network ever picked up because they're all massive cowards who wouldn't know promise if it came up and bit them on. In 2008, he returned to finish Scud with a 4-issue miniseries to wrap things up. Over the 10-year break, his art improved significantly, and that miniseries looks amazing. The whole series is a huge inspiration for my art, but especially the miniseries. God, I wish he'd just returned to comics. This art is too good to be wasted on freaking Rick and Morty of all things. Sorry, I just can't look at that cartoon anymore without thinking about high school. Bushland Adventures is peak, though. The miniseries manages to wrap things up nicely, and I'm really pleased with how he decides to put a bow on things. Coming back to a series after some time can be a risky thing, but when it works really well, like The Return. The last issue of Scud was really angsty. The plot twist at the end is sad, especially for a comic that was so much fun, all the way through. The first issue of the 2008 miniseries really feels like it's picking up the pieces of what the comic was. If the final issue of the original series took the entire premise of Scud and throws it on the ground in a fit of misdirected frustration, the 2008 miniseries is sighing, getting a dustpan, getting all the bits back together and gluing them and making it work again. It has a happy ending, the kind of thing that a comic like this and a creator like this deserves. Now let's talk about the bad stuff. I have kind of an interesting relationship with Scud. It seems like every time I read it, I find some new angle that it messes up or doesn't stick the landing. It's a messy series, and that's kind of to be expected, but I'd be remiss not to mention the parts that I don't quite like. That said, I think it's perfectly normal and even healthy to find ways that your favorite series messes up and be critical of the things that you like. What doesn't work for me is Susudio. Pretty much, it's entirely Susudio. Now, don't get me wrong, I certainly like her as a character. I think she's fun and provides a nice counterpoint to Scud. When she gets her moments to shine, she's a cool character who, at best, could stand toe-to-toe with Faye Valentine and Femme Fataleness. That said, the way she's written is very 90s. She likes Scud because she's a robophile. Yeah. Moving on. Black Octopus Sexy Genius. Yeah, this one's a dud too. It's not like I have anything against sexuality in my media. I'm working on a whole thing about Sorry We're Closed. It's just that I don't think this is handled very well. It's kind of like that 90s comic boys club mentality. Your mileage may vary, but I can't just jive with it, and that's fine. It's only one issue. The overarching problem with Susudio is that I just don't think she's very well written. Beyond her hype moments and aura, there really isn't that much to her. I wouldn't call her a cardboard cutout, but she very much feels like she needs something else going on. The thing about her dad being Hank Grit was interesting, but it never gets fully fleshed out. I think some solo scenes delving into her personality might have been nice. Other than that, I think the last couple of chapters where it becomes a series of one-shots kind of kills the pacing. I like all these ideas, and I definitely think they have merit to be explored, but they come at the end and it feels more like a last-ditch effort to kind of spice things up. Overall, though, it's kind of a minor complaint. It's mostly stuff that I just clean up. But Scud is a messy series, and I really do love it, warts and all. As YA's Beefy Tomato Man once said, it's a beautiful little mess. At the end of the day, what I think works best about Scud is heart. Scud has heart, and he does. It's right there on his chest. It's a broken heart. It's messy. It's chaotic. But it's got this beating, bloody heart right at its core that keeps the whole thing grounded. I think that's unique. For all its self-aware quips and ironic meta-humor, it never loses sight of what makes art good. It's emotion. It's raw, honest emotion and effort and love poured into each page. And you know what? I love Scud the Disposable Assassin.